Changes are in store for Denver's innovation schools.
I'm a little bit disappointed, and the future is kind of uncertain.
Leaders worry they've lost the ability to make their classrooms special.
To have to continually defend our school models, it just feels exhausting.
A push to expand Medicaid in Colorado, what this could cost the state, and why doctors believe it'll easily be made up.
And a composer from Denver prepares to perform at Sunday's Academy Awards.
I can't remember any point in my life where I wasn't into music.
With changes impacting teachers and thousands of Denver public school students.
DPS school board members voted late last night to approve a measure aimed at giving all of the district's teachers equal rights and protections. Innovation schools serve roughly 1/4 of all DPS students.
But some teachers at those innovation schools say this could limit their flexibility.
Today, Denver 7's Colette Bordelon spoke with teachers on both sides of this issue. Colette?
And some are scared this new policy will change the way innovation schools work, which have more autonomy when it comes to certain district policies. But other educators say it'll actually give teachers more of a voice for decision making in their schools. There's something different at the Denver Green School.
Just hear all the laughs and giggles behind me.
Where teachers feel they found a home.
I left my traditional school because I was unhappy there.
And leadership is shared between 3 co-principals.
Working hard in school, trying your best, and helping others.
One of which is Frank Coyne.
And we've waived out of certain policies from a district level or state level that allow us to implement a unique model here at DGS to do what we feel like is going to be best for our students.
It's one of more than 50 innovation schools in the Denver public school system, attracting about 1/4 of all students in the district.
To have to continually defend our school models, it just feels exhausting.
That exhaustion in part due to a school board policy change passed last night.
I'm just scared that our flexibilities and our model and the things that make DGS special are going to be taken away potentially.
Now, innovation school plans will make sure all teachers have the same rights when it comes to their workload and pay.
Some schools waive some rights and some schools waive other rights.
Xochitl Gaitan, the school board president, was one of the yes votes for the change. She says it will eliminate inconsistencies seen as unfair to some teachers by their union, but she insists it won't take away the creativity that innovation schools have.
What it actually does is ensure that classroom teachers have a voice in those decision-making processes.
Christina Medina teaches 2nd grade at McClone Academy, another innovation school.
Again, I've struggled with this top-down model.
Giving her back more control of the classroom, a reason she'll stay with the school.
People will realize that this will be for the better of everyone.
An opinion not shared with many of those at the Denver Green School.
I don't feel like it was in the name of teacher rights.
All of this leaving dozens of teachers and their students with a lesson in uncertainty. The policy change won't immediately affect innovation schools. It'll be used when it comes to new innovation plans or the renewal of their plans for next fall. Live in the newsroom, Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
Certainly two sides to it. Colette, thank you. A federal jury is awarding a total of $14 million to 12 people injured during the George Floyd protests in Denver. The jury found that police violated the protesters' First and Fourth Amendment rights. Plaintiffs in the case were hit with pepper spray and bean bags during several nights of demonstrations near downtown. Attorneys for the city of Denver argued that mistakes made by police did not necessarily mean that officers had violated the protesters' rights. In a statement this evening, the city brought up changes to DPD policy regarding the use of less lethal munition for the purpose of crowd control, while acknowledging the city continues to evaluate policies and training.
The First Lady has arrived in Colorado. This is a live look from Denver International, where Dr. Joe Biden's plane landed just a few minutes ago. Her motorcade, as you can see, now moving. The First Lady will be attending several events here in the metro area this weekend, including a Democratic National Committee finance event tonight here in Denver.
The U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services was also in Denver today. This afternoon, Javier Becerra joined Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera and teachers for a discussion on youth mental health. Part of that discussion also focused on teen drug use, including fentanyl. According to the CDC, teen overdose deaths have tripled over the past 2 years. Becerra talked about the Biden administration's efforts supporting the distribution of fentanyl strips, which can detect drugs laced with fentanyl.
We want to save a life, and if you may be taking a drug that's laced with fentanyl, you just don't realize how potent that fentanyl is, and a lot of our fellow citizens are dying. So we think it's more important to save a life, because the evidence has showed that we do save lives by letting people know what they're about to put in their body.
Colorado lawmakers are taking a huge step toward expanding Medicaid.
Yeah, that's right. Today, the Health and Human Services Committee voted 8-4 to expand coverage to pregnant women and children, regardless of immigration status.
Denver 7's Russell Haythorne shares one family's story and how doctors see this legislation impacting health care in general.
For Giovanni Juarez Granados, the start of 2021
January something
was rough.
We were coming back from Montrose, and I kept on throwing up on the way. We had to stop the car. I threw up. I ate something. I threw it back out. Sometimes I even threw up, like just spit, because I didn't eat anything.
The 11-year-old needed medical care.
My appendix got inflamed, so it got like big. It was on the verge of bursting.
But the cost of that care is often a huge financial barrier for undocumented families like Giovanni's.
They both came from Mexico. My mom came from Chihuahua. My dad came from Aguascalientes.
I treat all children, all comers, and too often I see children who wind up in the emergency room really sick for something that could have been prevented with primary care.
Brianna Morgan is a pediatrician at Children's Hospital. She and others testified before the Health and Human Services Committee on behalf of a bill that would expand Medicaid coverage. The cost of expanding Medicaid to Colorado children and pregnant women, regardless of immigration status, is estimated at $16 million. But Brianna and other doctors say the state will easily make up those costs in savings from families getting preventive care rather than waiting for more expensive emergency services.
Not only is it costly to treat things once they're an emergency, but also it's really sad. It's a lot of stress for the family. It can be harm for the child. We certainly have seen some cases of sort of irreparable harm.
Fortunately for Giovanni, his family made the right call.
The next day, I woke up and we decided to call the hospital. I woke up and then they took me to go get surgery. I fell asleep and then I woke up perfect, fine.
Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
Giovanni had his appendix removed, and he, as you can see, is a happy, healthy fifth grader this year at South Mesa Elementary in Pueblo. So this bill now goes before the House Appropriations Committee, where it also has widespread support. Now, amid times of high inflation, legislation aimed at saving Coloradans a few bucks is advancing at the state capitol. The House has passed a bill that will keep the fee to renew your driver's license at $30 for the next 2 years. That fee was set to go up by $2 in 2023.
And with gas prices at their highest in years, Senator Michael Bennet is calling on the IRS to adjust its standard mileage rate. That's the rate people can deduct from their taxes if they use their own vehicles for work. Right now, the 2022 rate is 58 cents for each mile driven. Bennet says gas prices have increased 28% since that rate was revealed in December. He and New Mexico Senator Catherine Cortez Mastro are asking the IRS to change the rate to reflect rising fuel costs.
Some bumps on the track for RTD's A-Line trains. Numerous trips between Union Station and the airport have been canceled this week because of staffing issues. Under federal law, each trip requires a second crew member, and the company that provides those additional crew members says they're down 30% of the staff they normally provide to RTD. And RTD says because of strict requirements to work the A-Line, it can't just move staff from other routes.
A small portion of that pool of people they provide are able to be the second crew member, are trained to be a second crew member on commuter rail. So it's not like we can pull from the whole group of people.
RTD says it is trying to find ways around the staffing crunch, and in the meantime, they recommend that riders sign up for emergency alerts so that they know when trips are canceled or delayed.
The Red Cross is now helping 24 families after a fire ripped through an apartment complex in Boulder. The fire ignited around 5 a.m. in the area of 28th Street and the Diagonal Highway. Flames could be seen from Air Tracker 7 shooting out of the roof as crews tried to put the fire out. Firefighters believe the fire began in the upper part of the building before spreading through the attic. Denver Fire says Thursday's fire at Empower Field was accidental and the results of welding. Tonight, the investigation is still ongoing. The fire destroyed numerous seats and appeared to cause damage to some of the stadium's suites. There's been no word on a timeline to make repairs, but the next event at Empower Field is Monster Jam, scheduled for April 23rd.
Colorado has now recovered all jobs lost during the first 2 months of the pandemic. The Department of Labor and Employment says Colorado has gained more than 381,000 jobs over the past 22 months, eclipsing the 374,000 jobs lost during the early days of the pandemic.
Those total gains of 381,800 over that period represent the recovery of about 102% of those lost jobs at the start of the pandemic. And that ranks as the 11th fastest rate of recovery in the nation.
Colorado's unemployment rate also continues to fall. The state says unemployment dropped to 4% last month, down from 4.2% in January. And 4% is the lowest it's been since February of 2020, when unemployment was at 2.8%.
Temperatures in the upper 30s tonight here for Denver with partly cloudy skies, but as we head into the weekend, we could be breaking some records.
From the Super Bowl to the Grammys and now the Oscars, a Colorado musician gets ready for one of the biggest performances of his career.
And one step closer to the Frozen Four, the DU hockey team turns its focus to Minnesota Duluth.